Hello, it's that man. This is a locals guide to Western Australia. So we're going to have a look at the whole lot of Western Australia. So the first thing we talk about is distance. When we think about where to go, it's often a matter of, well, how long does it take to get there? That's probably the big thing, and how far is away from things. So we'll describe it in terms of distance. So this is what we think is the maximum day's travel to do there and back: to the north, Jurien Bay, to the east, Wave Rock, and to the south, Margaret River. So that's like the limit of a day's travel. A day's travel to arrive there in one day, so you're travelling further just in one day. We think north is about Shark Bay, east is probably Kalgoorlie, and south is probably Esperance as far as you go in one day. If you're heading across Australia, gives you an idea of the southern border. So if you're going to go to the southern border, it's at least 2 days to get there. I mean, you can always go crazy and have people driving 24 hours, but a stretched, comfortable distance, it's at least 2 days, if not more. And places like Exmouth and Karratha, or that'd be at least a 2 day travel to be somewhat comfortable anyway. So we'll start off with around Perth, and we'll do all things, but we'll mainly concentrate on the things that aren't so touristy or well known. So here's Perth. So what's within, I don't know, half an hour of Perth? So if you're not familiar with Perth, this is Perth. This is the Swan River heading inland. This is the Canning River, which is the biggest river coming off the Swan. So this is Perth, a little bit up the river on the waterfront on the north side. This is the domestic airport and the international airport. And there's a train line into Perth from there. There's a train line north, train line south, train line east to Fremantle, a train going sort of eastish, and a train going southeast to probably Armidale, travelling to it. Yeah. So that's your train transport. Talk about well-known touristy places. Kings Park's pretty well known. That's Kings Park. We won't spend much time on the well-known ones. You can Google them pretty easy. Cottesloe Beach is a famous beach. We don't think very much of it. It's pretty ordinary as a beach. Thing you realise about West Australia is the waves aren't that big. We come from over east, and Western Australia has a big ridge, a few hundred metres offshore, and it dampens down the waves quite a lot. But it does mean there's more islands and a lot of reefs to explore, which is good. So the Perth foreshore, what's the Perth foreshore called? What?
The Esplanade.
Oh,
Elizabeth Quay.
Yeah, Elizabeth Quay. So that's been pretty well there for what, about 5 years now. Yeah. It's sort of like a fancy Darling Harbour type place. It's quite nice actually. Yeah, that's Elizabeth Quay. Fremantle's pretty well known. Adventure World's just a big water park really. A place called Yagan Square, which is near the big hub of the buses and rail transport, big transport hub. That's probably the newest big place for people to go, and it's left poor old Perth in the middle a little bit dry, actually having the newish Yagan Square, and Elizabeth Quay has left Perth a bit of the poor cousin. So we look to the top, heading inland is the Swan Valley, where all the wineries are. There's quite a lot of wineries. And in the other direction on the far left, we go offshore. There's Rottnest Island, home of the quokka. And a lot of people don't know, but there are quokkas on the mainland. They're just easier to see on Rottnest because they can't go anywhere because it's an island. So they're pretty trapped. Right. So if we look at the places you can go there, start off the Omeo Wreck. That's a pretty good place to go to snorkel. It was put there on purpose. It wasn't wrecked by accident, and it's only what 30, 40 metres offshore, and the depth is just a little bit more deeper than what you can stand in. It's normally fairly clear water. It's relatively safe to snorkel on. It's quite cute. In Fremantle, one thing I like is the Bon Scott statue. AC/DC, big Australian band, and you got to see the Bon Scott statue. Medham's Pool. So a place that really only the locals know about is there's quite a bit of reef structure and things to see diving off in Medham's Pool, like a big reef type area, pretty close to the city. Blackwall Reach Cliffs. So in the part of the Swan that's a little bit narrower, early on, there's this big cliff. That's Charlie jumping off the cliff at Blackwall Reach. How high do you reckon that is?
No idea.
It's quite high. Like it'd be, I'm guessing 8-10 metres at least high. It's pretty high. I was going to mention the little sand spit that spits out. It's quite unusual. It's only very narrow, probably 8-10 feet wide, and it goes very deep into Swan River. If you go there at night with the full moon, it's quite cute to be there. Kent Street Weir. That's up the Canning River. In terms of canoeing, the Canning River is good because there's a low bridge lower down, and big vessels can't get up there. And being more narrower, it's a lot more protected from wind and stuff like that. There's a castle there in Railway. Now we look at the Swan River and looking for a place that's a bit more not so commercialised and full of people. That's Fish Market Reserve would be the first one. The first relatively out of the way one. There's more as you get further out. A little bit north is Bells Rapids. It's like it's far upstream of the Swan River, and if there's a bit of water, there's rapids there. It's quite nice for families, and on a hot day there's a lot of people there because it's not nice and cool. Lesmurdie Falls is very close to Perth. If you're well travelled, or even not, it's not the biggest or highest flow falls in the world. Western Australia hasn't got any big mountains and not a lot of water, so as falls go internationally, it's not much, but it's our falls. Underneath Canning Bridge, so this is a bit of a surprise. A lot of artwork underneath Canning Bridge. Right, so if you look higher up, we're going up north now. There's Two Rocks. Two Rocks is probably the first sort of little bit isolated place as you go north. Less isolated as time goes on. So this is Two Rocks on a nice day with no weed. This is Two Rocks on a day with a lot of weed. You can get one or the other.
I had a really good snorkeling experience around Two Rocks, just randomly going into the water.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about. She says, I'm going to look for fish. Just walk through the water and finds a stack of fish. I don't know how you do that.
There was a massive school of pufferfish in the
Yeah,
water.
it was huge. Yeah. Gilgerton, I like Gilgerton. Gilgerton has a river called the Moore River, and it's one of those rivers that gets sort of dammed at the mouth and forms a big lake. And there's a bit of a caravanning park on the side of it. A lot of people go there in summer and swim, and if you go upriver, there's some big sand hills and people picnic there, and it's quite nice. It's pretty cute. Seabird. There isn't that much at Seabird. There's a good fish and chip shop. This is a nice photo we got just as the sun was going down. Me and Sam are coming back from up north, and you can just see the car on the right hand side, and we were surprised how late it was, and this guy was waiting for this boat to come in before it gets dark. But it was a cute sunset at Seabird. Other thing at Seabird, once we found, you turn off into Seabird, and there's a road called Beach Rescue Road, I think. We went on that with a four-wheel drive and find a beach, and there's these train carriages, and there's not one, well, I think we found three, didn't we? So yeah, there's quite some strange stuff in there. Ledge Point, there's not much at Ledge Point. There's a few places to stay, a bit of accommodation. Lanceland's pretty famous for the big sand dunes there. People, they hire little boards and run down the sand dunes on boards and forward drive the sand dunes. This is the big chair that's pretty famous for being there. This is Lanceland Island. That's you and Trish. I was out there somewhere canoeing out to Lanceland Island. That was quite cute. Wedge Island, one of these places where people put up humpies and stay there and live a different lifestyle, that sort of stuff. I didn't take that picture, that was from the internet, but there's an island there called Wedge Island. A lot of four-drive people go there. And the new sort of settlement is called Grey, it's a little bit higher up. It's a bit more substantial. You say, oh, this is temporary housing or living less commercially. It's pretty substantial. The Pinnacles, that's a pretty famous place. Pretty amazing to see. Yeah, it's a national bank. I think it costs $15 to go in there, something like that. Cervantes is a well-known fishing place. There's a big pub, sort of children-friendly place for seafood there. It's quite good, called, what was that called? The Lobster Shack, I think.
Oh yeah.
Lobster Shack. And Jurien Bay's got a lot of islands to see. It's known for that pier on it. And we like a place called North Head. You go a little bit past Jurien Bay and back around. It's up the top of the picture. It's got a really nice area. I think we went forward driving with Trish there. Trish took her forward drive there. And above it is a place called Sandy Cape Recreational Park. It's quite cute. So that's the up on the going south side. If you start for the coastal type routes, you've got, if you're going from Perth inland on the Corrigan Highway towards Wave Rock, say. If you're heading south, there's the Albany Highway. If you're going down the coast but not near, you go on the sort of inner coast road or the coastal coast road. So they're the basic sort of directions you can travel. Margaret River is probably the furthest away. It's very well known, very famous. Think about a local hidden area is actually the end of the Margaret River. It's another one of those rivers that has like a sand termination point and forms a bit of a lake. It's not that big, but if you canoe around that corner, there's these massive, really nice cliffs. so flat to see as you go around that corner. That's quite cute. I don't think many people know about that. There's lots of caves in the area. These are pretty commonly known. I think we've been to Mammoth Cave and Giant's Cave, I think. But there's a lot of caves there. You've got, you can rent headlights and see them, and there's stairways and that sort of stuff. The aquarium, that's a bit of a favourite of ours. It's it's completely natural formation, but it's a really good formation. It's very well recirculated through the ocean, so it's very clean. It's very well protected. We've actually snorkeled there at night in the pitch black, but it's a really good place.
It's pretty hard to find the entrance for though. It's a bit of a hike down, and there's no signs.
Yeah, yeah, that's the aquarium. In aquariums at Yallingup, and there's 3 places right next to each other. First one's the aquarium. Next one is Canal Rocks, and that's just as it sounds, this massive canal through these rocks. It's quite a stunning place. The third one's called the Spa, and if you sit down where you see that spray underneath there, you get sprayed with water, and that's why it's called the Spa. Cape Naturaliste is a bit of a point, and it's a good spot to see the whales. People go there for whale watching because they come very close as they round that edge. It's quite deep there. Bustleton's famous for the Bustleton jetty, the long jetty. Do you know how long it is? It's a few kilometres. I don't know how many kilometres. It's a few kilometres, and at the end there's a aquarium. So it's so long there's a small train goes up there if you don't want to walk it. Preston Beach. So there's not much between that and Preston Beach. I mentioned Preston Beach because when I first came to Western Australia, I stopped at Preston Beach, and I was absolutely stunned that there was no waves. I couldn't believe it, and I didn't know about the ridge that runs down the coast and stops the waves, but I was stunned by the fact there was no waves. Go to the Mandurah. So we found Mandurah, the river system's feeding it quite unpolluted, didn't we? The signs saying don't drink the water and actually don't swim there, and it even smelt, and I think it was because of the insecticides from all the farming and stuff upstream, and if it rains it washes it all down. I was surprised. It's the only really polluted river system I found in Western Australia, but it's quite bad. But the coastal area is very nice. It's a very touristy place. There are canal blocks and all that sort of stuff there. Penguin Island. So Penguin Island, as the name might suggest, is an island with penguins. There's a little boat goes across, but it's this cute place to canoe. There's a group of islands there, but Penguin Island's probably the most famous one. Just north of Penguin Island is Point Perrin, so the whole headland's pretty good. This is a picture of a common snorkeling area, really good snorkeling area, really good reef there, a lot of fish, very clear, and a big flat area. It's very nice. But the whole headland has places to see. Okay, the more inland stuff. Wave Rock is at Hyden. You can do there a day and back, but it is a long day. It's pretty well known. You go above the wave and there's more to see up there too, but the Wave Rocks is a big thing. Williams, I mentioned Williams not because there's a lot of stuff there, but it's a really good stopover on your way south. There's a Williams wool shed. It looks pretty plain, but there's lots of shops in there. There's a really good place to eat. I think there's a bar. It's a pretty good place to stop. Isn't that you have much choice, but it's a good place. Okay, Lake Brockman. Lake Brockman's a pretty big lake. Because it's not used for drinking water, it's used for irrigation. You can do skiing there, use power boats on it. At the top there's cabins, down the bottom left there's tents. There's lots of different areas for different types of usage. And it is quite extensively used by a lot of people. Harvey cheese. You found Harvey cheese, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the first time you went there, you bought some little animals or something. Yeah. Harvey cheese. Harvey cheese is Harvey is there's milk and cheese and dairy products and stuff, and yeah, that's just an outlet for them. Wellington Dam. So Wellington Dam, we found it. We just found it, and could not believe the painting on it. So that's a painting. If you look on the far right, you can see the cars. So you can see the size of the dam, and that was painted on. I think it cost $3 million to do it or something. There's a guy with a hanging off this thing and painting. It's amazing what the final result was. Gnomesville. You were so excited to find Gnomesville.
It's so incredibly creepy.
It's I find it funny such that it's not that someone made it. People just put them there. There's no guards. There's no reason why you can't take them. There's no official place. It's just a place people put gnomes and put them by the millions. Like, there's so many gnomes there. Okay, so we go down further south. So this was an approximate line of a day's travel, and a day there and back, and Esperance was said to be the furthest. So if you look there, talk about Augusta over on the left. So Augusta's not that commonly tourist place because it's a bit far for just a day trip, and it's not on the way to something. So, but it is quite cute. There's a big splayed out entrance from the main river. There's Cape Lewin down the bottom, and Harvey Inlet's quite an extensive waterway. A lot of people use boats up the Harvey Inlet and go all sorts of places. There's Pemberton. Pemberton's known for the big tree. So there are a few trees around there. That's just the one that we've been to. Do you know any other trees? There's a few of those places. They were for bushfires. They used to use them to sight for bushfires. Imagine climbing there. Imagine getting caught up there during a big bushfire. My goodness.
Yeah, I think it started to rain when we were almost at the bottom.
Yeah.
I was like, thank God.
Yeah. Okay, Mount Barker. So I mentioned Mount Barker only because it's like a termination point. So if you're going to Albany, you go straight through it. If you're going to Denmark, you turn off at Mount Barker. But if you turn east from Mount Barker, you go to Pongarup. And at Pongarup is Castle Rock. And it's about 1.1 k's up to this final big granite part, and there's the ways up, and you can go along the walkway, and the views are quite stunning from it. But it's a pretty interesting walkway, isn't it? It's Pongarup. Albany. So at Albany, I think Albany is the second biggest city in Western Australia, isn't it? It's a pretty big place. It has an amazing military thing. It's just huge, and lots of equipment there, and lots of history, and there's all sorts of stuff there. It's where the Australian fleet and troops left in World War I from King George's Sound, and you can look over the sound and you can imagine 100 battleships leaving from there. It's quite an amazing place. There's the Gap. That's a pretty well-known one. One of those extended platforms, look down this big gap. Talking about other good places, is like the Whale Museum, pretty good. But in terms of being a local and knowing the hidden spots, Inlet Point's nice. So you travel east from Albany, near Taylor Inlet, go on the far side through Nunup Beach, and then go along the beach to Inlet Point. Very cute, isolated place. If you go a little bit further east, there's Two People's Bay and a place called Little Beach, really cute beach. And the thing that was quite stunning about Two People's Bay is you're going through these thick trees, and you know you're heading close to the coast again, and you're just about there, you can smell the salt air, and you come out of the trees and there's this massive rock mountain in front of you. So that Two People's Bay, it looks pretty flat. It's not flat, it's really high, steep mountain, like really steep. So it's quite a nice place to see. Denmark. So is Denmark your favourite place in Western Australia?
I think so. It's got a very close spot in my heart. I've been there many times.
Yeah, it's funny, when people I first moved to Western Australia, they said, oh, we like Denmark. And I went there the first time, there isn't much there. But there's a lot of natural things there that you just got to find. And when you find it's a beautiful place. So this is a map of Denmark. Above the top here, that's where all the wineries are. There's lots of wineries. I think your favourite one is the Ducats.
Yeah, Ducats cheese.
Ducats wine and cheese, I think it's called, something like that. And because they make cheese there, and it's not a fancy, it's more of a family place, and it's well priced, and it's quite nice. There's a lot of more fancy places there. So there's a Giant's Tree Walk just off the screen. That's one of those big elevated platform thingies. Greens Pool. Greens Pool is a magnificent place to snorkel. I would say it is Australia's best all-weather snorkeling place. There might be some better, maybe, but it's really protected. So it's on the Southern Ocean, but the natural protection is just amazing, and it's large enough to have lots of things in there. It's really nice. Just around the corner from Greens Pool is Elephant Rocks, pretty well-known place. I've photographed a lot. So where are we now? Denmark. So on the peninsula around the other side of Denmark, because there's Wilson's Inlet, that big like a lakey type thing, and the goes through the ocean on the left. But this headland is really rugged, like incredibly rugged. At the far end is Anvil Beach. Is Anvil Beach, very rugged, very beautiful places there. And the rest of that headland's really rugged as well. So a picture of you, that headland. How far were you off? High up were you? I'd say at least 100 metres, if not a lot more. But it was quite high.
We tried so hard to get down to the bottom there, but it just was not possible.
Yeah.
We tried really hard there, and I really scared Dad by walking down there.
Yes, I was quite worried about sand falling, that sort of stuff. But an absolutely stunning part of the world. So, furthest one away, Esperance. So here's a map of Esperance. Esperance in the middle, Cape Legrand on the left, and the Western Reaches on the right. So this is Esperance. It's a port town. The Esperance itself isn't that fantastic. It's what's around it, really. If you go to Cape Le Grand National Park, there's lots of places seen there. Absolutely stunning place. Probably the most famous place is Lucky Beach. It's commonly ranked Australia's best beach, sometimes the world's best beach, that sort of stuff. There's kangaroos on the beach. It's stunning colours. When the weather's nice and there's not weed on it, it's really clean. It's a really nice beach. Another common favourite people is, what's that peak called?
Frenchman's Peak.
Frenchman's Peak. And Trish had the idea to get up there as the sun comes up, and it was a great idea because it was absolutely stunning from up there, the sun coming up. And it's got a cave at the peak, like a big cave, like really big. Think, how on earth do you get a big cave on the top of this sort of steep mountainy thing with a sharp peak? How does that work? But that's what it's got. It's a stunning place. In terms of the hidden gem, my vote is for Little Hellfire Bay. You go to Hellfire Bay, and it is a bit of a walk, but it's well worth it. It's a beautiful, hidden, stunning place. And getting there, so you've got to go through this. It's not a rainforest, but the flora and fauna is very unique to that one point. It's a stunning place to go. So if you go way east, there's Wharton Beach. Beautiful thing about Wharton Beach was a nice beach. You can put your four-drive there and camp there and have breakfast and lunch and all this sort of stuff. You're nice. But the beach itself had a very slow ramp of sand, which is quite rare in Western Australia. So the waves were quite slow and long, which you don't really get in Western Australia. So really nice place to learn to surf and that sort of stuff. So it was really nice. A little bit further east again was Table Island in the Duke of Orleans Bay, which is absolutely full of islands, and that was an absolutely stunning place. That's Table Island, that's right. There's Woody Island. I think that's the only island that is permanently inhabited. It's got a great sort of coral reef and diving area. It doesn't look like much, but underneath's really nice. And they have eco-tourism camping there and stuff like that. So if you look to the east of Esperance, we have Twilight Beach is pretty famous. That's what it looks like. And at night, Twilight, yeah, there's a lot of mosquitoes there at night. It's Twilight Beach, so Twilight, yeah, it's very, no, it's not, there's too many mosquitoes. 11 Mile Lagoon, so we've been snorkeling at 11 Mile Lagoon. And 10 Mile Lagoon, that's 10 Mile Lagoon. If you look to the left, you can see the lagoon off into the distance. There's some quite deep sections, some shallow section, but it's protected by this long ridge. It's quite stunning. Right, so if we go north beyond a day's travel and back, we'll see Stockyard Gully Cave. So up north there's sort of, down south you got these deep wet caves, and up north you seem to have big dry caves. And there's lots of caves, Beekeeper's Cave. This is Stockyard Gully Cave. If it's wet, there's a little river goes through it. It's sort of a tunnel more than the cave. Quite long. It's be a few hundred metres long, isn't it? About 300 metres long, something like that.
Yeah.
And quite big.
And very dark. So
very
bring a
dark.
torch.
Take a torch. Very dark. Pink Lake. There's a few pink lakes in Western Australia. This one is routinely pink. There's a pink lake at Esperance, but it's not pink. It's not very nice at all. But this one's quite pink. Cowbarry. So Cowbarry, on the drive in, there's the stunning cliffs, and there's all these places to stop at with the cliffs. Red Bluff, Mushroom Rock, Rainbow Red, all sort of stuff. quite stunning views from there. And Kalbarri itself is quite nice. The big river, the Murchison River runs through it. Just a little bit inland is the three big attractions in the national park there. This is Nature's Window, pretty commonly visited. Really nice place. There's what was that called again?
The Skywalk.
There's the Skywalk. There's two of those things, and it's a photo from one to the other. The Murchison River was very dry on this day when I took the photo. It's the Skywalk. And something like the Z walk down the gully, and there's this walk through massive rocks down to the gully. That's Kalbarri. Monkey Mire, pretty sort of well-known place for the feeding of the dolphin stuff. These days they're very eco-friendly and they don't feed them much, so you don't see them as much, but they still do it. Other place in there I really like was Little Lagoon. It was a really pretty place, mate. Really nice. There's a lot of places up there really nice. There's a Francis Perron National Park. There's a lot of great places there. And one of the things that was amazing was at the end of that peninsula, we went to see the ocean and we couldn't see it. You said, well, how can you not see the ocean? Well, where the beach is, where you can't go because you'll get wet, you can only just see the edge of the ocean. It's so long, I'd never seen that before. The tide's so horrendous, covering all that distance. It's quite amazing. I'd never seen that sort of thing before. And I think this was your favourite there, was the aquarium. It's quite an extensive aquarium and a lot of hands-on stuff too, which was really good.
And they're really informative about all of the animals.
Yeah, no, it was really good. Okay, above that you've got like Carnarvon, Coral Bay and Ningaloo. Well known for Ningaloo, for example, the Ningaloo Reef and the whale sharks and that sort of stuff. This is your iron ore mining area, so you got Rio Tinto, BHP, FMG, the big iron ore miners, and this is the port towns from the iron ore mines. Dampier / Karratha is the big one. That's a Rio Tinto one. There's a lot of other industries there. What's it called? The Western Gas Shelf or something. Big gas projects there. There's a lot of big industries there. Yeah, that's a nice place. It's the home of Red Dog. Have you seen the movie Red Dog? When that iron ore was owned by Hammersley Iron. That's when the Red Dog movie was based at Dampier, Karratha. That's just one of the million nice places there. That's Herschen's Cove. So you go up. Next is Point Sampson. The iron ore facility there is at Cape Lambert, which is next to Point Sampson. It's a far more isolated place.
Wow, this is beautiful.
This is the sort of scenery you get, far more isolated. Very beautiful, but far more isolated than Karratha. The next one is Point Headland. That's the drop-off point for the BHP's iron ore facility and FMG's Port Headland. Big town. Doesn't have quite as many natural things there, and probably not as close to the thing called there? The big national park with the big cabins and stuff. Yeah, that's a bit of a further drive too. So if you go way up, there's Broome, but Broome's a substantial drive up from there. In fact, I'd say unless you have many weeks, I would just fly to Broome. So you think about the distance, it'd take you at least 3 days, 3 long days to get there. If you're on your way for a week, you drive for 3 days, stay there a day and drive. That's not a holiday. So unless you have many weeks to drive, you just fly there from Perth. That's the famous camels on the beach. So I think the thing is about Western Australia is no matter where you go, it's a long way. That's, yeah.